Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general mid-month reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the last 2 weeks of November. I hope you're well. I'm using the World Unknown Tarot for you today. There it is. Now, if you haven't seen these readings before, I structure them slightly differently to the way that I do the main monthly reading, in so much as we are looking for the lesson. I believe that there is wisdom, or indeed a lesson, contained within every experience and interaction that we have, if we are open to seeing it, and too often we are not, because we get bogged down with what is right in front of us, you know, struggle and toil and strife and all that sort of thing. So consider this, if you will, an exercise in perspective. After all, you are the universe literally experiencing itself. You are not here to be born, work, pay taxes, and then die. There is a higher purpose for you. And keeping your eye on that can help a lot, I think, when things are difficult. So, to that end, what we're going to do is pull 3 cards for your energy right now. Consider it like an energetic snapshot. From there, we will pull 3 cards to see why it is that you are in this energy in the first place. What is trying to be shown to you at this time? 100% of the time, it will be telling you something about yourself, you know, new insights into the way that you respond to things, you know, what needs work, what needs to be released, whatever. But there are also, you know, there's also the possibility that what we might see is, you know, situations that need to come to an end, maybe situations that need to be embraced, new ones that are coming in. We won't know until the cards hit the table. And then from there, we will pull 3 cards of advice and see if we can't help you navigate this a little more easily than you might do otherwise. So, to say, in the meditation that I did just before I started the reading, what I saw was a butterfly with its wings like this, which then opened up and took off. And I thought, that's a pretty good omen for whatever is going on with you at the moment. It's like change has already happened, but it feels like here's the point where you're about to start embracing fully everything that that means for you. Now, 3 cards for Cancer, please. 1, 2, no, we've got all 3 now. So, yeah, beautiful. We have the Hierophant there, Taurus energy. We have the 4 of Swords, which I like very much. And we also have the Knight of Wands. And there's the movement. There's the movement that I was feeling. Now, the Hierophant represents the old version of you, the slightly stuck version of you, the one that didn't quite understand the way that the world works, in a way that empowered you, right? So there have been lots of situations, and I've no doubt that you could pull, you know, 100 of them to mind, where you invested in a relationship to the extent that perhaps it was overinvestment, and you know, farmed out your validation to other people. And a lot of this year, maybe some of last year too, was about realizing that the way that you thought about things, the way that you saw the world, the way that you thought, that you actually comprehended the world working around you and your place within it, came from, for some of you, a place of trauma, absolute trauma. You know, I said a number of times that Cancerians, I have my Venus in Cancer, seem to have come from a place of great wounding, historical great wounding, and often are blessed with narcissistic parents, right? But the work that you have done on yourself in the last year, the last 18 months, right, it's shown you an awful lot of things about yourself that have been actually at some points really quite difficult to stomach, I think. But they were not shown to you in order to make life difficult for you, in order to punish you in any kind of way, but to give you the key to unlock the cage and release yourself, right? Open up the butterfly wings. Because the Hierophant represents everything that was with you. Like there's a kind of rigidity, a sort of inflexibility. Like if you've watched my videos for any great length of time, you know, generally speaking, I'm not a great fan of the Hierophant because of what it represents in some ways, right? But there is no card that is all positive or all negative in the tarot. We know that. And so the Hierophant can indicate commitment too. And what we've got here is this kind of dual message coming through, which is that what was, that what was is now, you know, it's time to leave that behind. Things don't need to stand in perpetuity in front of you because they happen to have formed, you know, a large part of your history. That's not how progression works. But there's also a sense of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So there are things about you that are strong and that are powerful that you now feel very strongly, and those are the things to take through with you. Those are the things to continue to commit to. But anything else, it can leave. And I like the fact that this crow here, which is kind of like a harbinger of death, right? That's often how it's seen. But in the sense that we understand death, it is a state of transformation rather than actual physical death. You know, what we're seeing is a dying off of an old version of you that frankly has come to, you know, the end of its useful self. What we want now is a transformation, and that's what's occurring. But it's that sort of, it's funny, like I would describe it as a transitional state, except it's not, because you've already been through the transitional state. You have already changed. In some ways, it's waiting for you to catch up with that up here, maybe in here too. Catch up with the extent to which you've changed. Realize that you're a butterfly and that you can actually just open your wings up and then take off whenever you want to. You know, the commitment moving forwards is to your own peace, and you cannot put a value on your own peace. You know, there were times in the past, I would say a good couple of years ago, where, you know, I was sort of hankering for the return of somebody who was really, really important to me, and I waited a long time for those people to return. And what has shifted for me over the last couple of years is the knowledge that should that person return, my peace would get fucked with, and I'm not prepared to accept that anymore. You know? And bit by bit, as I have prioritized my own peace over, you know, what I had thought that I wanted, I realized that the hold that this person had here didn't really exist in the way that I had perceived it to moving forwards, you know? And I see that similar sort of prioritization for you, Cancer. It's like, no, my peace first and foremost, allowing myself to heal first and foremost. And also, it's just heard for some of you, an exploration of all sorts of things, but actually for some of you, spiritual modalities are really starting to come through. You know, the Cancers are very, very sensitive to everything anyway. But you might have found recently that as you have started to prioritize your peace, so you're having an opportunity to notice more synchronicities. You know, there's a way in which you are feeling more connected now than you ever used to before. And it's not a connection that necessarily you could express to other people. It isn't necessarily a rational sense of connection. I guess that's what I'm trying to say there. But nevertheless, it is quite profound. You know, maybe you're getting messages from things, you're seeing numbers, you know, animals, whatever it is. And because you are open to seeing those, because you are looking to cultivate this and maintain it first and foremost, that you're actually feeling connected to something much bigger than you, which is much more fulfilling than where you were before. Shut this fucking window. But that is not to say that you are standing still, because I really don't think that you are, Cancer, because we've got this Sagittarian card here of the Knight of Wands. Now, the Knight of Wands indicates movement, and yes, there are some negative connotations to this card. Again, there is no card that is all positive or negative in the tarot. And in some ways, it can be associated with recklessness or thoughtlessness and things like that, you know, a certain selfish way of being. But there are ways in which it is possible to put yourself first without being selfish. And I think that this is what you are discovering for yourself here. You know, the Son of Wands is also an ability to be entirely present with one's surroundings, with one's people, you know, whatever it is, however it resonates with you. rather than looking between the lines all the time, because I feel like it's something that Cancer has done a lot of, you know, like desperately seeking for the answers in the things that are not said, you know, expressions, behaviors, things like that. And that's exhausting. You know, when you come to a place where you are prioritizing peace, all of that stuff goes out the window. And it's like, well, no, I'm going to take you at face value. I'm not going to look at potential, because that way is, you know, folly. Rather, I'm going to look at what it is that you're actually doing. And I'm going to look at what I'm doing. And I'm going to see if those things are a match. Now, I could be talking in terms of, you know, romantic relationships, but it doesn't necessarily need to follow that that is the case, to be honest, because I think that this new way of being that you are gently exploring, because that's the other thing, like I feel like there's an exploration of spiritual modalities that is going on with a lot of Cancers at the moment, whether that is meditation, you know, tarot, Reiki, even just sitting quietly and listening, you know, because sometimes just stuff comes to you and you can't really work out where it's come from. And well, we know where it's come from. It's come from your higher self, or, you know, the universal spirit, whatever it is. But I think that you're ready to move in some sort of way here, Cancer. You know, the meditation very much clearly gave that indication. Whether it is that you have an opportunity right in front of you or not, it doesn't really matter. If the opportunity is there, then with the Knight of Wands, it is possible that you may well be jumping on it really, really fast. But if it's not, then it seems like the thoughts may be more toward the creation of these opportunities for you. You know, when we create space in our lives, when we take away the things that don't serve us in any particular way, whether they are people or reactions or whatever, then that space ultimately will be filled with something. But it feels like it's something of your choosing, rather than something that's just kind of exploding into your life and sending you all kind of like about everything. It's very conscious, very, I was going to say self-conscious, but I don't mean in the way of self-conscious. It's consciously self movement forwards. Oh, sort your brakes out, love. Mercedes with squeaky brakes. Mind you, I can hardly talk. My Discovery makes a squeaky sound with its brake. Oh, it's a back rear brake. Why am I telling you about this? Anyway, it does. It makes such a squeaky sound that actually sometimes puts my teeth on edge. Anyway, so this is all really, really positive. You know, if I hadn't kind of expressed that, it is very, very positive. I'm pleased to see it. Let's see why you are in this energy as things stand. Yep, here we go. Right, so we've got the Judgment card at the bottom of the deck. Now, that can speak about your making decisions at this point. And if there are decisions to be made, they're not small decisions. These are big ones that are, you know, potentially quite life-changing. That point of emerging from, you know, a cocoon, being a butterfly here, putting your wings together and going, right, well, shit, what do I do now? What can I do? And then opening your wings up and flying could well be a thing. Changing yourself from your experience of a land-based animal to now one that can traverse the air too. You know, that's incredible. Must be an incredible sensation. Yeah. Big life-changing decisions. But we've got here the Seven of Cups, we've got the Six of Cups in reverse, and we've got the Four of Cups in reverse too. It's all emotional for you, Cancer, to the degree that I would say if there is a decision that you need to make, I would at this point cast your mind to the side and go where it is that your heart is taking you, because it seems like it's in charge at the moment, and certainly the next step of whatever is going on for you needs to be coming from an emotional space, right? But we've got the Seven of Cups, which speaks about illusion and emotional confusion. Well, we've got a sense of you transcending that, right? Because how much of your emotional confusion was caused by the internalization of other people's behaviors and words and things like that, that never really aligned with who you were properly and caused that confusion. I'm going to bring it back to the Four of Swords here now, because there's a cultivation of peace for you everywhere. It's almost like the confusions and maybe the illusions too have melted away. But there's a sense here that you are never going back to what you were or who you were before. You're certainly not going back to the people that resonated with you or that you seem to draw towards you in the previous incarnation of who you were, right? The Six of Cups is a card of the past. It's a card of going back to the past. It can sometimes be nostalgia or past lives, even children and childhood, actually. But there's a sense of moving forwards with this, right? There are no rose-tinted glasses, particularly when we've got these two cards here together. There are no rose-tinted glasses to your past, to relationships, to people, to situations. But there's no sense of you becoming enchanted and ensnared by people or situations from the past pulling you back in. It's like, no, everything has changed so much that the world has literally upended. Because you are not a slave to your past anymore, you know? We've got the Four of Cups here. I think this might be a Cancer card. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it is. Or it might be Scorpio, actually. I think about it. I think it's Cancer. The Four of Cups in the upright is a card of rejection, which is a theme that comes up a lot with Cancer, right? We know this. You tend to scuttle up sideways to things that are emotional because of that ever-present possibility of rejection by another person. That, I feel, in you has changed. It's one of the big things that has changed. There's a certain preference for directness. Like I said, now you're taking things on face value rather than looking for the spaces in between. That need to scuttle up sideways to things has become less and less something that you do. It's also a card of being taken for granted, and there are so many ways, Cancer, in the past that that's happened to you. But the wonderful thing is that this is in the reverse. So rather than talking about a card that is preoccupied with rejection or being taken for granted, rather it becomes a card of expressing gratitude. Now, that gratitude may well be for the things that are in your life now and are really rather good. But I feel like some of that gratitude is leveled towards the illusions of the past melting away, the lessons of the past finally being understood and learned. The gratitude is for the experiences and for the emotional leg up that this has given you in the understanding of what it is that you've been through and how it is that you gave your power to other people for such a long time, because now you can pull it back to yourself. Now it is yours, and now it's being directed in your way. Like I said, it's that consciously self rather than self-conscious. Let's get some cards of advice for Cancer, please. Fucking what? Okay, one more clues for Cancer. Thank you. Right. So we had something fell down here. What have we got? Right, yes. So the cards that came out, I shit you not. First card is Judgment. There. The second card is the Emperor. And the third card is the Ten of Pentacles. Wow. We have the Empress at the bottom of the deck talking about gratitude and abundance. And these are two themes that are really coming up here for you. So the first card that we've got is that Judgment card again, right? And I don't know if you can see that actually, but we have a white dove that has exploded out of, you know, what looks to be a big pile of bats, right? It has ascended. It has gone up, just like the butterfly opened up its wings and then took off. This is you. Now, if you have some big life-changing decisions to make, I would pay very careful attention to what your emotions are telling you, because I think that you can trust them at this point. Like, where they may have led you astray in the past, now that you are coming from a much clearer, much more peaceful position. There's no muddying, there's no static between you and your higher self, you and what is being, told to you. But there really is a message here of not succumbing to fear. Interestingly, I think the likelihood of you doing it is actually fairly low, because it feels like there are big changes on the horizon for you. There's a definite switch in what you are committing to, right? There's that word again, right? Coming up for you as you catch up with how far you've changed. But there's so much brightness just in front of you. And the reason that it's just in front of you is because it's not just in front of you, it's actually emanating from you, Cancer. That's the important thing. There's a quote that I read, I think it might have been from Rumi or something like that, and obviously, as ever, I'm going to butcher it in its retelling, but it was something along the lines of, when you are walking around in the dark and everything seems helpless, turn to yourself, because you might just be the light. And that's what this is right here. Like, you are the light, you have the answers. But in terms of big changes that you want to bring in, it's auguring very well, because then we have the Emperor and we have the Ten of Pentacles here. Now, the Emperor is a card of Aries. In Judgment, I think, is the card of Scorpio. I'm not sure if it has a strict correspondence, but it has that scorpionic, transformative feel to me. But the Emperor is the card of Aries, and so it is a card that is associated with the new in some way or another. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, right? It's a new experience here, but it's one that's coming under your direction, because the other Aries card is the Fool, and the Fool is, like we know, it's starting a new cycle, but it's that there's a kind of blind trust with the Fool. There's always that, just taking that leap. You don't quite know where you're going to land, but it's okay, because it's the Fool and he's protected. We know that the Fool's okay because he goes on to have the rest of the the Fool's journey throughout the major arcana. But the Emperor is slightly different. The Emperor still has that first energy about it, Aries energy about it, but it's much more strategic. There's a higher level of planning, and there's much more of the Emperor all over this card. The Emperor's will, the Emperor's determination, the Emperor's plan, the Emperor's strategy that other people will be taking out. So again, we're back to this notion of consciously self. What is it that you are wanting to do, Cancer? How are you wanting to bring it about for yourself? How are you going to do it? How are you going to make it happen? Because if you put enough thought into it, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to be pulling it off at this point. Because we've got the Ten of Pentacles, again, card of commitment. But because I see the Pentacles as energetic currency, it's about taking your energetic currency, be it your time, your care, your effort, your love, or even your money, yes, and directing it to something that is going to last, right? It's building heritage. I always think this card is like heritage and legacy, that point where they collide right there, which is the moment that is right in front of you. It is all the work that you have put in, and it is all of the work that is to come and the benefit that is to come moving forwards. But we also have this earthy card here of the Empress, the counterpart to the Emperor. And she too deals with the notion of bringing something new into the world. Like, often the Empress is depicted as pregnant because she is literally birthing. She's the act of creation. So what we've got here is the masculine planning and everything behind it, but we've got the actual act of creation also being indicated here by you. Like, whatever you want to bring towards you at this point, Cancer, it seems to me like this is a really good time to do it. Very good time. And I think that the cardinal signs are getting a bit of a walloping at the moment from Pluto, I think. My memory's awful, but I know it's Capricorn specifically, but I think the cardinal signs are all being reborn in one way or another. And in terms of where they want to put their time and their care and their effort and their money and their love and what it is that they want to grow and what it is that they want to create literally for themselves in that consciously self way. All of the energy of the astrology is supporting that at this time. So, this is what I have for you. I hope that this was helpful. It's the only intention I ever set when I do these readings. But it looks really good. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.